Today, we're diving into the work of a sociologist who honestly figured out over 100 years ago why our lives can feel so incredibly liberating and at the same time, so unbelievably stressful.
I mean, think about it. You've got to be the consummate professional at your job, the caring parent or partner at home, a good friend, someone with cool hobbies, a smart shopper. It's like you're constantly switching between these different versions of yourself, and each one wants something from you. Well, there was this German sociologist, George Simmel, who totally saw this coming. While everyone else was trying to build these huge, grand theories about society, Simmel was different. He was crafting what you might call a secret key, a powerful way to understand the invisible patterns of our social lives and why we feel the way we do. So let's go ahead and see what this key unlocks. Okay, so here's the core of his whole idea, and it's absolutely brilliant. Simmel said we have to separate the form of our social interactions from their content. Just think about it like geometry, right? A circle is a circle. It doesn't matter if it's a car tire, a pizza, or the full moon. The shape, the form, is the same, even when the stuff it's made of, the content, is completely different. So a social form is just that. It's the underlying pattern. It's the how we interact, not the what or why we're interacting. It's the shape of the relationship itself, totally separate from the specific topic you might be talking about. So let's break that down. The form could be something like competition or hierarchy or even solidarity. And the content? Well, that could be literally anything. A corporate merger, a family argument, a religious movement. The amazing insight here is that the very same forms pop up in all these wildly different places. And this is where it gets really wild. Think about it. A government has a clear hierarchy, right? Well, so do most families. A corporation competes for customers, just like two friends might compete for the attention of a third. A group of secret plotters needs intense solidarity to succeed. And you know what? So does a local church. The content couldn't be more different, but the social geometry, that underlying form, is exactly the same.
So, okay, how does the secret key help us make sense of our own modern identity? Well, Simmel used it to look at what he called the web of group affiliations. Let's take a look at how that web actually gets put together.
If you go way back in more traditional societies, you didn't really choose your groups. You were simply born into a family, a village, a religion, and that was pretty much it. Your identity was organic. It was singular and deeply rooted. But now, in our world, the reason we join groups is rational. It's based on our choices, our interests, our careers, our passions, and we can join so many of them. And this creates a really profound paradox. The very same web of groups that causes all that stress and role conflict, that feeling of juggling your work self and your home self, that is also the engine of our personal freedom. Each unique mix of groups we belong to carves out a unique individual identity that just wasn't possible before. You can actually see that engine at work here. As our society gets more complex and specialized, what sociologists call differentiated, it just creates more and more potential groups for us to join. It's this web, woven from our choices, that forges our modern, one-of-a-kind personality. So our individuality isn't something we just create out of thin air. It's a direct result of the social structure we live in. Okay, so let's take this same lens and apply it to something else: conflict. Now, we usually think of conflict as a bad thing, right? Something that only tears us apart. But Simmel saw it as a fundamental social form that, believe it or not, can actually bring us together. I mean, that's a pretty radical thing to say. Conflict isn't just the breakdown of society. It's a type of relationship in itself. It's an interaction. Think about it. To have a real conflict with someone, you have to be engaged with them in the first place. You can't fight with a total stranger you have zero connection to. And it makes so much sense when you think about it. When a group faces a threat from the outside, what happens? It pulls together, tight. Leadership often becomes more centralized, so you can make decisions fast. That us versus them feeling creates this intense internal solidarity. And sometimes conflict even forces groups that were totally separate to team up and form new alliances against a common enemy. Competition is the perfect example of this. Sure, it's a type of conflict, but it's a conflict that's bound by rules. For it to even work, both sides have to agree on those rules. And the whole time, they're building relationships with a third party, whether it's customers or voters or judges, trying to win them over. It actually generates a whole web of social connections, not just breaks them. And as you can see here, it's a dynamic cycle. Conflict pushes societies to create new rules and institutions, things like laws and courts, to manage it.
This new level of organization makes society even more complex, which allows for even more specialization, more different groups to form. And all of that new complexity creates the potential for, you guessed it, even more conflict. It's an engine for social change. All right, for our last big example, let's talk about something we all use every single day: money. For Simmel, money isn't just currency. It's maybe the purest, most powerful social form there is. At its most basic level, so much of our life is made up of exchanges. You give up something you have to get something else you want. Simmel saw money as the ultimate social tool that takes this universal human activity and just perfects it. It makes exchange abstract, incredibly fast, and pretty much limitless. And on a huge societal scale, money is a total game changer. It speeds everything up. It allows someone working in a factory on one side of the world to have a direct economic relationship with a shopper on the other. It makes things like taxation possible, which makes central governments way more powerful. And it all runs on this massive, unspoken trust that the system will hold up tomorrow. But, and you knew a but was coming, here's that paradox again, this time on a really personal level. For us as individuals, money is incredibly liberating. It gives you this huge amount of freedom and choice. At the same time, though, it creates distance. Transactions become cold and impersonal. You don't need to know the person who grew your food. And this can lead to a deep sense of isolation, like you're just a single disconnected atom in this giant calculating machine. So, after all of this, what's the big takeaway? Simmel is basically handing us a new lens, a new way to see the world we live in. Ultimately, this whole idea of form versus content isn't just some dusty academic concept. It's a real tool. It's a practical way to see the invisible social geometry that is shaping your identity, your arguments with friends, and your everyday relationships. It helps you finally understand why modern life feels the way it does. So the next time you feel that pull in 10 different directions, or you see a rival team at work suddenly pull together against a common problem, or you feel both the freedom and the weird emptiness of a simple online purchase, you're experiencing the very social forms that Simmel was talking about a century ago. Which leaves us with a big question. What other invisible forms are shaping your world right now?